Hello, I'm Jim Miller. I'm here with Tina Fraley. The FlipSide starts right now. Welcome to the show. We're pleased to have with us tonight Addie Nardi, the Chief Executive Officer of Boys and Girls Club.
Hello.
Addie, you've got a lot to talk about. It's been an exciting year or so,
I'm
right?
exhausted, yes.
I bet you are, but it's all going to come to an end, and now you can get back to, as you said before the show, running your nonprofit.
Absolutely.
Achieving the mission.
Yeah.
So you recently opened this 21,000 square foot facility on Pennsylvania Avenue. What inspired the design, the scale?
So, if you remember correctly, we were in the old building. The old building had a lot of issues, and that's putting it mildly. And so we, my board of directors and I, about 7 years ago, embarked on this process to kind of build a dream club. And so we visited a lot of other Boys and Girls Clubs. We pulled best practices from best in design and in everything that we saw. And we ultimately put out an RFP and got in Bushy Fight Morin as our architects. And we just worked together to kind of create this entity that replaced, not only did it replace the building that we were in, but we acquired land on either side. And so we've really kind of redeveloped almost the entire block.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So, it is a big building. The goal is that we can serve more kids, obviously. The goal is that we can serve more kids safely. And then really, if it helps to kind of redevelop the neighborhood, and I'm not saying that it needs it, but there was some empty buildings and, some issues. If it helps do that along the way, then that's just better.
Icing on the cake,
Icing
right?
on the cake, yeah.
Tina?
So you're already having an impact that's ripple affecting out from your roots with that new building. Are there any specific programs that you know are now going to be able to take place in that building because it's bigger than the previous one?
So I don't want to. We did great with the space that we had in the old building. So program-wise, yes, we'll have a dedicated STEM lab. We'll have a dedicated arts and crafts area. We have a dedicated teen center. And some of those we had in the old building, but some of them we couldn't use. By the time we left the old building, the arts and crafts room had water damage in it that we couldn't use the room. And there was a crack in the wall in the teen center. So everyone was kind of stuffed into this little space, the space that we had left that we could use. In the new building, they all have their dedicated space. What we have that we didn't have before is outdoor space. So there's a outdoor basketball court. There's a lot of green grass for the kids to play on. At some point, we'll put like some playground equipment out there, but that is, we'll continue the same high quality programming, but we're just going to be able to do it better.
Excellent.
Looking at the build, obviously, Rome wasn't built in a day, nor was the Boys and Girls Club of Washington County. Can you talk about the timeline, starting with your initial idea, leading through? I'm sure you had to get funding dedicated before you got started, or before you had a shovel of earth out of the ground.
Yeah.
Talk to us about the timeline, the funding sources, and how that all worked.
So I knew when I accepted this job 8.5 years ago that this was going to be my project. This is going to be something we were going to do. We were going to replace this building. I didn't think we'd have to do it so soon. But once I got in there, I'd say I got my feet wet. Probably about 7 years ago, the board and I really started looking at what we were going to do. And we thought initially, we actually toyed with the idea of maybe relocating, right? So, because we were landlocked. But then the Blaine family, who owned the property just to our let me get my bearings, south, the adjacent property to the south, came to us and offered us their land.
Wow.
They offered to donate their land to us. And so that kind of made it a no-brainer that, okay, we're meant to be here. We're meant to stay here. And then we acquired the land to the north of us as well. So that is what kind of started everything in motion in 2019. BFM Architects signed on. They donated their services.
Wow.
I mean, that was a big donation on their part.
Huge.
And so then COVID hit. And we got delayed a little, but the building kept deteriorating. So even though we had to kind of put a pause on what we were doing, we were still facing some significant deteriorating in the old building. I would say the big thing, the first kind of big win for us was BFM signing on to do the architecture. And then we had 3 kind of key donors step forward and say, we want to invest a high dollar amount into this program because we believe in it, and we want you to use our donation to leverage other people to donate. Wow. So the Fletcher Foundation, the Michael Callis Trust, and then the Bowman family they all kind of stepped forward immediately, and they were like, we're going to invest in this project. So that was probably like 2021. All the years are running together, but that was probably like 2021, 2022. And then we were really fortunate enough to benefit from some money from the state of Maryland under Governor Hogan's administration, and then a community project fund or an earmark through Congressman Trone at the time. And that accounted for about $6 million, those 2 gifts. So it's funny I say, we still have some money to raise because the cost of the building went after COVID, but we raised probably $11 million with a nominal number of gifts because people were just so generous and believed in the project.
Wow. And at some level, and I get it's great to move into another area, but that the community you serve
Absolutely.
is right there.
Absolutely. The only reason that I think, entertained the thought of possibly relocating was really just because we were so landlocked.
Right.
We had no parking. We had no outdoor space.
Oh, I remember.
I joked, I became an excellent parallel parker. And now I can't just pull into a spot. So, the community was very good to us to allow us to take their resources like that, to be parking on the streets. We had our vans parked on the streets, but that was the only reason why we really considered possibly relocating.
Yeah.
So
one last thing, and then I'll shut up and let Tina ask the question. But I mean, it is amazing to me the different people, the different foundations in this community that step up for projects like this that are so critically important to moving our community forward. And I will say, and you said this kind of as an aside, but I don't think you can underestimate the benefit that a brand new building and all of the work that you've done is going to bring to that community.
That's what
and
we're
how
hoping.
It's going to stretch. Because I know, my neighbor started mowing his lawn and doing all this stuff, and I'm like, oh God, now I got to do it.
I did notice some really nice fences going up in the houses across the street. So I will say.
And you know what? And that can keep spreading as far and wide as it needs to. That's amazing.
So it's been quite a connecting issue, and the ability for the community to really come in and be a part of the entire building, pun intended. Yeah. Are there any programs or events coming up that are going to be able to have the community be a part of the continuing evolution of the Boys and Girls Club? So,
well, we are having our ribbon cutting, and on that day, and possibly moving forward, if there's some interest, we will open up to the public for tours. So we're going to do the ribbon cutting. We're going to stay open all day so people can come and walk through. When we have kids in the building, we don't allow just the public to come in, but we can arrange days when, if the kids are not in camp, or tomorrow with it being the ribbon cutting, we we're having the teen camp that day, and we'll have a few of the littles there, but the rest of the littles will be, we have other club sites, so they'll be kind of shifted around. But one of the things that we're really looking forward to doing, and this is kind of community-based, but really more integral to our population, is hosting family nights at the club. So we could not have done that before.
What is a family night going to consist of?
So basically, I leave all creative to the creative people. That's not me, that's my staff. But we are trying to host family nights at all of our sites to try and get parents more involved with what the kids are doing at the club. So it could be something like just a family dinner. It could be gingerbread house building around the holidays. It could be, my Frederick Manor site did a huge art show at the end of the school year. So we're very interested in getting the families involved too and building a better relationship with the families. And we'll have the space to do that in this new site.
What do you foresee being the result or the outcome of having more family engagement with this new aspect?
So I think a few things. We first and foremost want parents to feel confident and comfortable bringing their kids to us, seeing what they're doing with us. We also want to we see success in the relationships that we build with the kids. We want to be able to start to build those kind of relationships with the families as well. We're an out-of-school time provider. But if we have a relationship with a family and that family is in a tough situation, we have the relationships in the community and the knowledge and the know-how to possibly divert them to other organizations who could help them, or really just give us a better understanding of what might be going on in the home, for the kids. So I think that's kind of the main goals in hosting those family nights.
Okay. This is going to be an incredible opportunity for all of us.
Yeah.
Jim?
So from a strictly capacity standpoint, has your capacity changed in the new building, and can you talk about that?
Yeah. So I don't know what my final capacity is. However,
Fire marshal will tell you, right?
yes. But I will tell you, we had intentionally in the old building had to shrink our numbers because of all those spaces that we
Right.
couldn't use. So we were down to maybe 100 kids, and 100 kids registered, and maybe 70 a day that would show. This new building, we should be able to hold upwards of 200 kids in.
Wow, so doubled.
Yes. Now we are starting small.
Yeah, you
because
have
we
to.
want to learn. We're running a summer camp right now. It's a smaller by design summer camp. I don't like to make big promises, and I want to make sure that we know what we're doing. So, and even just the other day, actually, even just yesterday, we were trying to figure out how to turn the lights on in one of the rooms. So having a small group allows us a chance to kind of have our wits about us as we learn the flow of the building.
Right.
So.
Excellent.
No, that's really smart, given that you are having such a huge reach into our kids and their environment. You're creating, fostering, cultivating an entirely safe space that is very much needed at such a huge developmental portion of their lives.
Yes.
If we can go a little deeper and
Sure.
maybe pull from a successful memory moment that you've had as the director there, is there a youth that you've really seen come from maybe a harder moment in life and succeed while you have been there?
Well, my predecessor was at the club for 38 years, so he had a way bigger group to choose from. But I will tell you this. Tomorrow, the co-MC for our ribbon cutting ceremony is a member who was the very first kid I met when I started at the club 8.5 years ago. And he and his sister and his cousins come to the club, and I have worried about them, not for any reason other than the fact that during COVID they weren't coming around, and these kids that you form these relationships with, it's a little bit become like your own, especially because I didn't come to the Boys and Girls Club as someone who had immense knowledge in being a youth development professional. I came to the Boys and Girls Club as someone who knew about nonprofits and was Alex and Gigi's mom. So everything I did, I kind of took from that mom lens. So when they weren't with us, and COVID was happening, I worried about them. And then we've been out of the club for 2 years because we've been building it. Right. So he and his family has been they've been farmed out to other clubs or whatever. I came down the elevator probably the first day of summer camp, and he was in the lobby signing up. And I am telling you, I was like, I could not have been more excited. That was such a big mission moment for me because I've spent a lot of time just wrapped up in the process, and that was like such a big mission moment for me. Now I have 3 staff members right now who were former club kids, and they were club kids towards the tail end of being a club kid was during the beginnings of my years there, and they are exceptional human beings. I mean, they are epic kids. They're not kids, they're adults. But they are exceptional human beings, and they are such great employees. So I think it was a roundabout way to answer your question, but
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It sounds like it means so much to you to be able to do this and give back to your community. Yeah. Are there any things on the horizon that you're especially excited about?
Well, we actually next year will be in 2026, we'll be in our 85th year.
Ooh.
Yeah, of operations. So the building's up, it's running. We're going to cut the ribbon, and then we're going to start planning on how we want to celebrate that 85th anniversary.
Nice party.
Yeah.
Nice food.
Some good fundraising opportunities.
You had mentioned the potential for tours when kids aren't there. Talk to me about how else you can interface and connect with the broader community.
You mean how we do?
Yes, and how you will, and if that'll change.
Well, you know, we will, it is our hope that we can become a better part or re-enter into our neighborhood right now that we're back there. I don't think they're too frustrated about the construction and the process and the noise and the dirt and the, so I think that we will continue to kind of re-ingratiate ourselves in our community where we are, and we'll rent out the space if people. We rent all of our gyms. We have a great space upstairs that can be rented for meetings, and so I think we'll look to do that as well. I also don't think I'm answering your question very well.
No, actually you are. The community use of the space is important. Yeah, no, I think that's
So
yes.
I mean, we even before, like towards the end of the old building's life, that gym was rented every night. It was mind-boggling to me. There was not a flow of air through there, and it would still be rented every night. So, we recognize that need in the community. I just want to keep it for us for a little bit.
Sure, that makes sense.
What are some of the partnerships that you have or will now be able to have more effectively in place with some of the community organizations?
Well, one thing about the club is that I do not believe that you can affect change in a silo, and so I do partner. We do partner with other organizations. I always say, I mean, I will be honest, Maureen Grove probably outfitted the bulk of that building, donated merchandise, and so. And she's with Girls Inc. I shouldn't just assume that. But so we are, we already are working hard to make sure that we're partnering to help our families and to, be better for our kids. I do think there's some opportunity with some work going on at the state level. There's an initiative called Safer, Stronger Together. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. I'm actually on the community advisory board for that. But basically, they work with families who are being touched by the Department of Juvenile Services, the Department of Human Services, like DSS, and I never get this department right, but the department that oversees the prisons. That's the best way I can
corrections, whatever.
Yes. So anyway, they are doing a lot of work to try and provide wraparound services for families, and I'm really fortunate enough that I'm on the community advisory board for that. It's like the one passion project I've allowed myself to have while we've been so busy building this building. And I think that we'll be able to be a resource to some of those families as well, and that initiative, just to be able to have them in they can use the club services, but also use the space. So
There was Pangbourne Elementary and Jonathan Hager Elementary. Are there any specific program or collaborations
yeah, so
going on there?
they're chartered club sites, but we are at Pangbourne. We work through the Blueprint for Education and the extended learning expectation through that. So that's through a partnership with Washington County Public Schools. We have a similar partnership with the school district at Jonathan Hager, but that is a 21st Century Community Learning Center.
Okay.
So that's a federally funded extended learning program that focuses heavy on academics with programs like ours to enrich, on the in addition to.
Okay. What's the age range that this is all
So
being able to
clubs
encompass?
in general are 6 to 18.
Okay.
Those programs at the schools are obviously school age,
Okay.
or elementary school age. So but we and I think we kind of have a niche with the teens because there aren't a lot of other organizations that serve teens, and I will say our teens took a hit. Our teen numbers took a hit after COVID, but we've been rebuilding them. We have a great teen program out at Frederick Manor. I'm hoping in this dedicated teen center that we have now, we'll be able to really get kids back in, because we know that those out of school hours are the most crucial, but especially for teens who aren't playing sports or aren't working or aren't wrapped up in anything else they have going on. I'll tell you what we just put in the teen center was a gym, a weight set. I'm saying all the wrong words, but we have, I think it's called a Smith machine and chin up stuff and free weights and kettlebells and stuff
all
like
the
that.
fun stuff.
Yeah.
Very,
so
very cool.
yes, you'll see it tomorrow.
I'm excited about that.
I've used the Smith machine. Fun is a relative term.
Well,
That is true. Relative is an important copy.
we had to move it in the building. We had to move it in the building. So I would not say I had much fun either in my
No.
very limited experience with the Smith machine.
We've got lots more questions, but we need to take a break. Can you stick with us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Stay with us. We'll be back with Addie Nardi, Chief Executive Officer of Boys and Girls Club of Washington County. Welcome back. Once again, we're here with Addie Nardi, Chief Executive Officer of the Boys and Girls Club of Washington County. Addie, you've got a brand new building. It's bigger. You've got outside facilities now. You've got parking lots.
We do.
From a budget perspective, we know that foundations love to fund brick and mortar. They don't love to fund operating expenses. What do we think? What is your plan there?
Well, I have to tell you, Jim, it's kind of ever changing. And the reason I say that is because it's a real uncertain time right now. So, we had talked earlier about my 21st Century Community Learning Center. That funding is on hold right now. It's a federal program. That funding is on hold right now. I think for us, and I think this is a best practice for all nonprofits. It's just so hard to do this when grants are kind of so readily available. But I think that we have to become less reliant on the federal government right now, and
the state for that matter.
And the state.
Yeah.
I mean, the state has been very generous with the club, and the federal government has too. But it's just a different time, right? It's different even than it was a couple years ago. So one of the things that we'll do is, moving into our 85th year, is look at some different individual giving societies. I mean, we have some really supportive donors, and we thank them, and the kids thank them, and I hope that we do our absolute best to steward them. But I think that we have to do better, because at the end of the day, it's the individual donors and possibly diversifying our other revenue by doing rentals that's going to get us through what I think is going to be a pretty tough, maybe couple of years.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
So in the diversifying of where all of those funds are coming from, I know you and I got the opportunity to sit on the planning committee for Hagerstown's first half marathon, and we had selected the Boys and Girls Club as that beneficiary of that event. And the kids helped.
Yeah.
And it was such an incredible, exciting, very full early day.
Yeah.
But you did. The kids gave those posters and that artistic, creative way of giving back to the event that was taking place to help. What were some of the things that you remember the kids talking about when it was day of and we're in the new Boxcar Stadium and everyone's moving around?
Yeah. So those kids were from my Jim Diener Center, which is in Nolan Village. And they were, first and foremost, they were kind of shocked and in awe at how long people had run, how far people had run. I will say we have a core group of kids and staff who love doing that. They love going out and representing the club. They can always pull together a group of kids who, they love being out there. They were very impressed with the runners, as was I. And really the event as well. It was for being the very first year, it was so well run. It was such a great event. So, and those events like that, we are always happy to partner on and grateful to partner on. When you look at nonprofits, they often have smaller staff numbers. And so it would be very difficult for us to go out and put on a half marathon at the quality and caliber that group did, your group. And it would be very difficult for us to do that. I feel like we fit perfect, being the part of the planning the committee that we were on, and then having the kids show up day of. I do think John, their director, took them to Texas Roadhouse after.
Well, I mean, you guys have been kind of running your own half marathon and beyond, building all of this. If we look back just a touch on the staff specifically, what are some of the new ways in which you're actually able to bring staff in to be in different leadership positions now that you really have a more expansive space to offer them as well? Yeah. Does that change anything in your structure of staffing?
So when I started at the club, you could either be a part-time program assistant, we call them youth development professionals, or you could be a unit director, or you could be the executive director and development person. There was no real path for growth, and it was a limited number of administrative positions. One of the things that we did in my 8.5 years is that we've really created some paths of growth for staff. And so my operations director, who is undoubtedly my right-hand woman, started as a youth development professional at Elgin Station 8 years ago. But she came in, and we have several staff members. I mean, even some of the former club kids that I was talking about earlier. I mean, the woman who runs Frederick Manor was a Youth of the Year at Frederick Manor, was a part-time youth development. I mean, so that's something that I'm very proud of. That when I look at my time at the club, of course I'm proud of the building, but one of the things that I'm most proud of is that we've created an organization that shows growth for staff. What we're focusing on moving into the new building is having a facilities person. So we'll grow by that, because I could duct tape that old building. I am not equipped for this new one. And then having dedicated teen staff. So that's something. And one of the other things that I was kind of intentional on, and by that I mean a real pain about, is that I wanted to make sure we had office space to grow into. Because when I worked at the Humane Society, we did a spay-neuter clinic, and everyone still had closet offices. So we're a growing organization. We're diversifying what we're doing. We're growing. We're going to need the office space. So when we started this project, I had like 3 extra offices. I now only have 1, but I at least still have 1 for eventual growth. So that's kind of specific to the new building, but we have been on a long journey of making sure that if you come in as a part-time staff member and you are dedicated to the mission and you're dedicated to the job, that you have a path to grow if you want it.
What is the mission for
Oh,
Girls and
I'm
Boys
so
Club?
bad at mission statements.
If you could paraphrase, what is the underbelly that
Yes.
you make sure every kid that comes through your programming knows?
Yes. So our ultimate goal is in those crucial out of school time hours that we are providing a safe place for kids 6 to 18. We used to say at risk, but really you could identify any kid as an at risk youth.
Absolutely.
And we have such a wide variety of kids that come to the club. And the goal is to give them the tools they need to supplement what school's doing, what home's doing, so that they can become really functional adults.
Okay. I appreciate you working your way through
I've
that.
I've never known a mission statement anywhere I've worked, and I've worked in nonprofits for 15 years. Isn't that awful?
Well, it sounds like you're living the mission of it very well.
Yeah.
So that would lend to my next question. How has all of this grown you?
Well, I have a lot of skills that I did not have 7 years ago when we
Duct
started
tape
this.
included.
Duct tape included. It's funny. I was working on my presentation, my portion of the presentation for the ribbon cutting tomorrow, and I was thinking about this group of people who came in and did, the construction team. And man, they put up with a lot from me. I mean, first of all, the stuff I don't know, which is everything. I mean, I've learned a lot, don't get me wrong, but, and not understanding how the construction business works, it's very different than nonprofits. And the fact that sometimes they would talk to me and I must have been glazed over. And one time my owner's rep had asked me, he's like, do you understand? He goes, do you understand what you're saying? And I was like, I just don't care. Whatever it is we're talking about now, I just don't care. Anyway, so this was not a resume builder for me. I mean, this was a one and done, but I have learned so much through this. And really, I think about other industries and the fact that I can't always get what I want when I want, because there is such a thing as supply chain issues.
Yes, there is.
So.
And don't underestimate the power of duct tape. I will tell you, my first trip to Boys and Girls Club was during your predecessor's time there. And I walked in and I said, Jim Miller, I have an appointment. Where is he? He's on the roof. He's fixing the roof. I'm
That's
like,
Jim.
No, really, where is he? He's on the roof. Okay.
When I interviewed for that job, I knew that Jim Diener, my predecessor, he had kept that building going. And so I said to the interview committee, I was like, I know that Jim did this. I need you to know I don't have this skill set. So if that's what you're looking for, I am not your person. If you need someone who can climb on the roof.
Somebody that may have interviewed you or may have heard it shared that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they thought it was funny.
I am nothing if not honest.
There you go. It's honesty is the best policy, if only it's the easiest thing to remember.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Do you remember some of the more final moments right up until doors are opening? It's go day. What was it like 72 hours before you got to walk into that office?
So we were determined. We passed our final inspections May 23rd. Camp started June 16th. I don't know. So anyway, there was a very short turnaround time to get in there and get everything set up. And one thing about me is I am horrible about taking it all in. I'm like laser focused and let's get it done. And we have camp starting and we're going to make sure that all the furniture's put together. We put together so much furniture. But there was a time right when we got the keys that it was just Markila, my operations director, and I in there. And she has been, like I said, she's my right-hand woman, and she'd been to every construction meeting and helped plan and pick. And I think we were just both kind of like, I can't believe that it came to fruition. I can't believe that we're standing in this building. And even just last week, we were putting pictures up. We decided to decorate the club with the kids' artwork. So we went and bought a bunch of canvases, and the kids drew. And we were sitting in the arts and crafts room kind of mapping out where everything was going to go. And I was like, I can't believe we're sitting in this room now. This was just a room on paper 6 months ago. And now we're sitting in this room. I mean, that's like amazing. Yes. I've never done anything like that before. So
congratulations.
But that's like the few times where I haven't been, even just going into tomorrow in the ribbon cut, I've just been like laser focused, and we got to open the doors for camp, and then we have the ribbon cutting and da 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 da. So anyway.
Excellent. Let's go back to the financial piece for a couple minutes here. Talk to me about, I know you said you're planning some giving type things, the increased staffing, the increased maintenance. What is the long-term plan to ensure sustainability?
Well, we do have an endowment. And I think the goal going into our 85th anniversary is to try and grow that endowment. So my board chair is Craig Campbell. He owns some all-state agencies, the River Bottom Roasters. I never remember the name of the restaurant on Northern Avenue. Free Range.
Yeah, Free Range.
He's like kind of a unicorn board member, and I almost hate to put this out in the universe because when other nonprofits hear about these kind of unicorn board members, they want them.
They come get them.
He's a fundraiser. So
yeah, that is a unicorn board member.
So he has this goal to grow the endowment, and now and since he has that goal, I have every confidence it'll happen. But I think coming off of the capital campaign where some of these larger donors are wrapping up their pledge periods and moving into our 85th anniversary, I think it gives us a good story to kind of grow that endowment.
Your outcomes, your impact is visible. It's visible through the children that you serve. It's visible to the community. It's now even more visible through this wonderful new building. How does that visibility impact your ability to raise funds? And what are the challenges that remain even with that level of success?
Well, of course, we've talked about kind of the uncertain climate that we all live in.
For sure.
But I am a little careful about how I use our kids to fundraise, because I don't want to come across ever like I'm trying to take advantage or exploit or anything like that. So I think having good alumni stories, and tomorrow I anticipate we'll hear a bunch of them. I have someone coming tomorrow to record some of our alumni who are coming to the ribbon cutting, because I've said this before, and I say this knowing that I've really had, this has nothing to do with me and it has everything to do with everyone who's come before me. But if you talk to someone who has grown up in the Boys and Girls Club, there are people who literally credit it with saving their lives. That's all before my 8.5 years. I mean, I think capitalizing on that with a mix of what the kids are doing, with a mix of really just being intentional about who we're asking to help support the cause, is how we'll kind of get through and use our outcomes. It's funny you talk about outcomes, and I know I just had we call it a squirrel moment, I apologize. But we have immediate, we have kind of moderate, and then we have long-term outcomes. And the long-term ones are kind of the best story, but they're the hardest to get to, because that's when these kids are older and they're working for the Boys and Girls Club, or they're, my one girl is getting ready to start her master's, and she's not going to stop until she gets a PhD. I mean,
is that Keandra?
Yeah. That's like those are your great success stories. But when I send a kid home with a bag of food for him to be able to feed his, to help feed his siblings at the end of the day. And we're not a food bank, but if we know there's a kid that has those kinds of difficulties at home and we can help with that. If we know that, home's not great right now, there's a lot of stuff going on at home, or we know a kid's being raised by grandma, grandpa, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, a great grandparent in some cases. We have that short term, just every day they walk in is an outcome, right? Every day they walk in is a win. We also, with our programming, we do pre and post tests, and those are fine. I mean, they're not as heartwarming as the immediate, and they're not as, but the pre and post testing's fine because it kind of gives you a pulse as to what you're doing in real time as you're doing it with these programs, and if they're effective. And if they're not, then we need to scrap them and bring in something that's going to speak to what the kids need. We take all of that and use that to try and get donations. I mean, we use all of that information. But I am careful about, telling, putting my kids on display like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the parents appreciate that.
Yeah.
How do alumni like Keandra Hauser shape your vision for moving forward with the program?
Gosh, she is such a bright light. Her and Trinity, and then we have a girl named Misty who's getting ready to come on full time for us. They're just, and actually, Misty's sister was one of my Youth of the Year winners, and she works for Maureen at Girls Inc. now. I think when you look at these women and you see that whatever it was that they take away, whatever they might have been going through, but whatever it was about the club that has made them stick around at the club, I think it's replicating that. And I'm not a club, I didn't grow up in the club, so when we were planning for this new space, I was very aware of that. Like whatever we were building had to evoke the same emotions in someone like Keandra, Trinity, Misty, that made them want to stay in youth development. Or made them, so anyway, we were very intentional about that, about creating an environment that would continue to do that.
So having alumni like all three of those amazing women helps to move your mission forward.
Yeah.
Life being what it is, it's not always an easy walk with that. I'm sure there's different things that have maybe been, I'll call them burpees in the road, to getting you to where you want to go with delivering on that mission. Have there been harder moments that you've had to really kind of unconventionally come at addressing so that you can still get to where you're at today with this new incredible community center for Washington County and its surrounding area?
I feel like running nonprofits in general, and I assume maybe everyone, like just being a grown-up in general, it's like you're constantly hit. It's constantly like taking a step back and reevaluating and going another direction. When I started, we had some funding that funded rural programs, and that funding went away, and we weren't prepared. And so that was probably like blip number one on my first day that we had, and we ultimately ended up having to close clubs, because when you are in this position, as much as I love this club or this club or this club, as much as I love the work we're doing in Cumberland, I can't risk what the greater good, if Cumberland can't sustain. And that's a tough, those are the kind of like tough calls that you have to make whenever you're sitting in my seat, even with individual kids. I mean, I think I was in my second or third year, we had a tragedy. We had a club kid stab two other club kids, and they were teenagers. And, again, all three of those kids, you could make the case needed the club, but I had to come to a firm, you can't come back because you're putting the population on whole at risk. And those are hard decisions to make, but those are the decisions that you have to make when you sit in my seat, because I have 7 sites and 1,000 kids, and all of that and the new building and, that I have to keep going.
So all of that absolutely is not taken lightly.
Yeah.
Where are your supports to move through and be able to continue to show up and support your staff in the process as well? Where do you lean to get that type of support in the community or the circle?
I have a great board. They are, and I am not afraid to tell them when I'm feeling a little stressed or whatever. I have a great board. I work very closely with my colleagues across the state. They are my emotional support CEOs. So other Boys and Girls Club directors. There's about 7 or 8 clubs, and we all work very closely on statewide funding. And they're all coming tomorrow. I mean, they're like, we show up for each other and very much. I think I took a phone call from one yesterday who caught 2 of his staff members at a snow, or he's like on the eastern part of the state, so a snowball stand is what they call it. Very much them, and very much a few people. Maureen was, when I first started, she was really who I kind of looked up to and really learned from. Absolutely. I'm a working mom, so when you're a working mom, when I get home, I have to be mom. So I think that helps too, because I can't take a lot of my stress home because I have to take care of my kids. And sometimes they have to come with me to places like here. I don't know. I mean, I'm not great at self-care. I need to get better. I need to come and see you and learn how to just center myself. I'm way too high strung, but I do have some supports who help.
It sounds very much like it's an all hands on deck operation, and you're modeling it for the kids that you're serving. So it's incredible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go see her. She said burpee.
I know. I heard that
is.
too.
I know what that is.
It's just a scare tactic.
So let's talk a little bit about outcomes. You talked about the fact that you serve about 1,000 youth across 4 sites.
No, 7.
7 sites?
Yeah.
Oh, my mistake.
No, that's fine.
How will that evolve? How do you see that evolving?
Well, the Jonathan Hager program is at risk. We could have to scale back, and it'll look very different how we operate out there. And this goes back to what we were talking about. I can't afford to put the agency on a whole at risk. I can serve some of those kids at my traditional clubs. We're still trying to figure it out. Okay. And that would be really unfortunate because we had some great outcomes from that site. I mean, because it was a federally funded education program, we had to bring in an external evaluator, and he gave me some anecdotal data that he pulled, and 100% of the parents who sent their kids to that program found value in that program.
Wow.
And 94% of the kids. So I don't know what the 6% who didn't find value, I don't know what they were doing, but that is like on the negative side. That's a realistic issue for us that we'll have to determine in the next couple of months. We'll be able to serve more kids at the new building. And I think, when we did our strategic plan for this, we operate in 3-year strategic plans, my board of directors and I, we really felt like making a stake in Cumberland was important. We've dabbled out there. The need's immense in Cumberland. It's for kids. It's really, So I think that's kind of where we'll look to focus.
You talked about your before and after, pre and post testing, which I agree. It's somewhat clinical in terms of its results, but the other measurable outcomes are things like high school graduation, college attendance, college graduation. Do you have any statistics on that?
I don't have any I don't know any of them off the top of my head, and I should have brought. We do a yearly national youth outcomes survey where we survey kids 9 and above. Now, sometimes if they're like having a bad day, their survey doesn't reflect very great on us, but I would say we're rebuilding our teen program, so I don't even know that I would have any good data for that. But it is going to be a focus of ours. You know, there's a lot of workforce development programs out there. There's a lot of companies who want access to kids who are, you know, moving up and getting ready to graduate and looking for jobs. And so it will become a focus for us. But I don't really have any good statistics. Isn't that a horrible thing to say? I don't have any
not
good
at all.
statistics now.
The other issue in Hagerstown that gets talked about a lot, whether it's real, whether it's 100% real or whether it's some portion perceived, is juvenile crime in Hagerstown. How do your programs impact that statistic?
You know, when I would say up until about a year ago, there was this community collaborative envy, and the goal was to reduce juvenile crime. And actually the goal was a little bit like that initiative that I had talked about earlier, the Safer, Stronger Together. The goal was to look at families and provide wraparound services to them. That juvenile violence, it ebbs and flows. It's absolutely out there, though. It is absolutely out there and happening. We're an open door organization in terms of, as long as you fit that criteria of being 6 to 18, you can come in. So if you are a kid who, there are rules when you get in, but if you are a kid who is engaging in gang activity or engaging in violent activities outside of the club, you can still come to the club. You are not going to try and recruit. You're not going to try and flash gang signs. You're not going to talk about anything outside of it. But they're still kids, and we're still a safe place for kids. And so, again, we would never do anything that would put the community at whole as a risk. But I think what we offer is a chance for them to come and be kids. Because at the end of the day, a 16-year-old who is joining a gang, he doesn't want to be, you know, they don't want to be in a gang. This is just what they know. This is just what they think they have to do to survive. It's unfortunate.
And you give them the opportunity to connect with a different type of role model.
Yeah.
Excellent. You talked a little bit about engaging parents. Can you talk about schools, civic clubs, and other elements that you would engage with?
We have a great relationship with Washington County Public Schools. I really couldn't ask for a better partner. Through those, you know, interestingly enough, through those programs, they started as a place for me to have like Pennsylvania Avenue kids while we were rebuilding Pennsylvania Avenue. They're phenomenal partners, and I think one of the things is that I really admire about the community schools people and staff is that they understand that change doesn't happen in a silo, right? So they bring in community organizations like mine, like the Police Athletic League, like the Museum of Fine Arts, HARC, and to provide further enriching programs. We are really very, you know, the community, the civic organizations in our community they're very generous with us. So, you know, I'm very grateful for the relationships with them. And we also have very strong partnerships with the Hagerstown Housing Authority and entities like that, and we'll continue to strengthen those partnerships because, again, when you're looking at a club like my Frederick Manor Club, the Housing Authority plays as much a part as we do in that out-of-school time, just in the resources and that they give us. They're very invested in their families. So,
excellent. And one more thing about programs, and that's the Youth Council. Talk to us about that.
Well, we don't do anything we're not involved with the Hagerstown Youth Council.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha.
I wanted to, not because I apparently think I'm going to have all this free time on my hands now. So I did want to sign up to be like one of the grown-ups that helps with that. But I missed the application deadline because I'm sure I was assembling something.
In regards to the enrichment that you mentioned bringing to the community, how or what enrichments or trainings are you able to now give staff? Is there any trauma-informed type of training going on to help them more effectively meet the kids that you are receiving today?
So, remember I told you I had a great board. I'm very lucky that I have my board vice president is a woman who was a a principal. Her name's Christy Bakedall. She was a principal at Bester, and she was a principal at Eastern, and I think she ended her career at Pangbourne. And so she's very familiar with a lot of the same schools that we serve and the populations that attend those schools. So she and Markiela, my operations director, and then another couple of board members have a committee. It is called the Culture, Climate, and Wellness Committee. And I call it the touchy-feely committee. They're all the feelings committee. And so their goal is to work with the staff to give the staff whatever it is they need. And a lot of times what we're seeing is Christy's teaching us how to deal with behaviors, because that's what we see in a lot of in the club is the behaviors. We are, one of the great things about having the Boys and Girls Clubs of America partnership is that they provide like first class training, you know, and they're not writing checks. I wish they were, but they're not writing checks. They don't give us money, but they give us branding and they give us training, and that's huge. So there is online training that all of my staff have to go through, even just for our safety assessment. So mandated reporter and stuff like that. All of my unit directors do club director orientation and club director academy, which is an in-person training. And I find, much like how I mentioned that my colleagues across the state are a good support to me, the goal is that they're with other club directors who they can build relationships with and steal ideas from or share ideas with or whatever. So we're very invested in training and making sure that our staff get everything they need. It's just a little difficult with the behaviors because at the end of the day, my staff are amazing, but they're not trained behavior people, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where we see having to continually amp up our training. Okay.
We have lots more questions, but we are out of time,
Oh.
believe it or not. We have filled the time. We didn't even get to take a second break. So. But that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Sorry, I'm a talker.
No, it was great information. It was great information, and I wish you all the best in the new club.
Thank you.
And I know you'll be supported because, I mean, the program speaks for itself. So
Thank you.
that's all the time we have tonight. We hope you will like us on Facebook, follow us on X. We hope you will send us your comments and suggestions to feedback@flipsidetv.com. That's feedback@flipsidetv.com. Most importantly, join us again next week for another visit to the Flip Side. Good night.